What the Egyptian priests revealed to Solon about Greece and Atlantis. This is from Timaeus. Quote, so there in Egypt, when Solon went, as they said, he was honored with great respect by the inhabitants and asked for information about the ancient history of the country from those priests who knew it very well. They discovered that neither he nor anyone else, a Greek, knew almost nothing about the old times, and when he once wanted to drag them into discussion about the old, he began to tell them about the ancient traditions of Athens, about Phoroneus, who was considered the first man, and about Neovin, also told about Thefkalion, is Noah's flood, and Pyrrhus, that they lived after the flood, and for their descendants, and tried to determine how many years had passed from what he was saying and to date. One of the priests, very old, said to him then, Solon, Solon, you Greeks are children forever, no Greek is old. So Solon heard this and said to him, how is this done? What do you mean by what you say? And he answered, you are all young at heart because you have in your soul no old knowledge of the ancient tradition, nor any lesson old from ancient times. The cause of this phenomenon is this. Many human catastrophes have been and will be caused by many causes, the greatest of which are fires and floods, and the smallest of innumerable other causes. For example, the tradition that prevails in your country, that is, that once Phaethon, the son of the sun, after he had chased his father's chariot because he did not have the ability to follow the same path as his father, and on earth he set fire to it and he was beaten by lightning, killed. This is called a myth, while reality is the paralysis of celestial bodies orbiting the earth and the destruction by abundant fire over long periods of time of beings on earth. Then those who live in the mountains and in the highlands and in dry lands are destroyed more than those who live near the rivers and the sea. In our country, however, the Nile, which is otherwise our savior, saves us even in such cases of overflowing embarrassment. After all, when the gods, cleansing the earth, flood it with water, those who are in the mountains are saved, such as, for example, the shepherds and the shepherds, but those who live in your cities are carried away by the rivers to the sea. In our country, however, neither then nor ever does water fall from above on the earth, but on the contrary, it naturally emerges from below, from above. Because of these reasons, the traditions of our country are said to be very old. But the truth is that in all places where winter or heat is not excessive, there is always the human race, sometimes numerous, sometimes few. But in your country, as well as in other countries, what has always been organized to be suitable for the letters and for what is necessary in the cities comes at fixed intervals as a terrible disease against them occurrent from heaven and leaves alive only the illiterate and uneducated of you, so that you become like new again from the beginning, without knowing any of the old that may have happened either in your own or in your own country. So what you said before, Solon, for your own genealogical traditions, is little different from children's tales, because you only remember one flood of the earth, although many have been done before. Then you do not know that in your country lived the most beautiful and the most beautiful, better human race. Because once Solon, before the great flood, the present city of the Athenians, was excellent in the war and in general, and its rule was perfect. In that city it is said that good works were done, and the most excellent regimes were formed from what we have heard existed on earth. End quote. When Solon heard this, as he told me, he was amazed and showed a great willingness to learn more, asked the priest to tell him everything in general and in detail about the ancient fellow citizens. So the priest said to him, quote, there is no reason for me not to do it, Solon, but I will tell you for your sake and for the sake of your city, but above all for the sake of the goddess, who is both yours and ours. She protected and nurtured and educated your own country 1,000 years ago, after taking the seed through you from the earth, and Hephaestus and later ours. It is written in our holy books that the organization of the city here took place 8,000 years ago, so I will tell you in a few words about the laws that they had and about the most beautiful thing that your fellow citizens did 9,000 years ago. Sometimes, when we have the opportunity, we will tell the details of all this, since we will have in front of us the same texts. So examine the laws of that city in contrast to those here, because you will find here many examples of the laws that existed in your city at that time. First, you will see that the priestly race is completely separate from the others. After that, the class of craftsmen is separately organized because it works in isolation from the others, without mixing with them. So does the class of shepherds, hunters, and farmers. You must have realized that the class of warriors here is separate from the others, and that they are not legally allowed to engage in anything other than war. You will also notice that their weapons are shields and spears, with which we, the first of the Asians, were armed, because the goddess taught them to us, and as she taught you first in those places. As far as education is concerned, you can see how much care the law paid for from the beginning to regulate everything up to divination and medicine dealing with health, after applying these divine sciences to the human need and systematizing all the knowledge that comes from them. So the goddess was the first to establish your own city. He's talking about the goddess Athena. After implementing all this organization and tactics, she chose the place where she was born after she took good care of the beauty of the seasons of the year and understood that she would raise very wise people. So they lived in the city using such laws and governed very well, and had exaggerated all people in every kind of virtue, as was natural, since they were the offspring and nurture of gods. So many great works of your city written here are admired, but one excels in size and virtue. In other words, our books say how much hostile power your city once destroyed, a power which arrogantly, after rushing out from the Atlantic Ocean, was attacking Europe and Asia at the same time, because then the sea there could be crossed, because at its entrance, which you call the columns of Hercules, we're talking about Gibraltar, there was an island. This island was larger than Libya and Asia until it started from it. The people of that time could to disembark on the other islands, and then on them to the whole of the opposite continent, located around that true ocean, because these parts that are located on the other side of the mouth that we mentioned look like a port with a narrow entrance, and the land that encloses it very justifiably and can really be called a continent. This island was larger than Libya and Asia united, and starting from it, the people at the time could land on the other islands, and then from them on the whole opposite continent, located around that true ocean. I'm guessing it's talking about the Americas. Because these parts that are located on the other side of the mouth that we mentioned look like a port with a narrow entrance, and the land that encloses it very justifiably can be called a continent. On this island, Atlantis, a large and admirable power of kings, was organized, which dominates the whole island as well as many other islands and parts of the continent besides which the kings ruled, from the parts of the estuary, Libya, Europe to Tyrrhenia. So this whole force, after being concentrated and unified, then attempted with one of its expeditions to enslave both our own place and yours, and the whole of the mouth from there. At that time, Solon, the power of your city became excellent among all people, both because of its virtue and because of its bravery, because after overcoming everyone during bravery in martial arts, either the leader of the Greeks or completely alone, necessarily became because the others had abandoned it, after reaching the brink of disaster, defeated the invaders, the Atlanteans that is, set up trophies against the slaves, still prevented them from being enslaved and released without any claim, all of us others who are on the other side of the Hercules columns. It is why, even now, that part of the ocean is impassable and unexplored, because it prevents the very little clay under the surface of the sea, which was created by the island when it sank. So this is from Plato's Timaeus 22 to 25. I've translated it for you from a Greek article. So he's saying that Atlantis basically is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And that from that Atlantis, they used to go from Europe and on the other side of the Atlantis, the continent of Atlantis, that is, to the Americas. I guess that's why we have so many ancient pyramids and mounds in America, in the Americas. It was from the time of 9,000 years, like 12,000, almost 11,000 years ago. So please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.